1999 Firebird 3.8 6-cylinder. It's got the 3800 Series 2 motor in it, and it's running like hell. So, I just recently replaced all the fuel injector O-rings, and while I stopped the leaks, it didn't stop the issue it was having. So, what I'm going to do now is replace the fuel pressure regulator, which is all the way back here. So got that off Amazon. Car's got 3 coil packs. What I did was I labeled them in the firing order. 6, 3, 2, 5, and 4, 1 is what it is. And then I labeled the tops of the cables as well, or the wires. That way I know what goes back in what position. There's 2 bolts that hold down this entire bracket that holds the 3 little distributor caps here. That is a 13 millimeter. There's one there, and there's one a little bit further back. Got to take both of those out, and then this entire bracket will come out. Now, it is tight, I'm not going to lie, and dealing with the fuel rail on this car is a major pain in the butt, but it can be done. So if you're trying to do this on the quick, don't even bother. But anyway, I digress, because this is now the second time I'm taking all this mess apart. They do say when you go through all this that you should probably replace all of your O-rings on your fuel injectors when you do all this, but pull them out, inspect them. If they look like they're solid, just put a little bit of oil back around them and put them back in place. And while you're at it, let me show you something else I had to do. So, previous owner, if you can see it there, it's missing the head of the stud. He broke it off. So what I did was I created my own little bracket. This is nothing but a piece of rubber that I had laying around. I put that on top of the fuel rail, cut the bracket down to size, and then bolted it right to the PCV valve cover. And everything holds down perfectly. No leaks, no nothing. So let me work on getting the distributor plate out and show you where we're at. All right, remember when I said there was only, whoa, that was close. Remember when I said there was only 2 holding the whole thing in place? I lied. There's 3, another one right here. And luckily, this bracket gives you a nice little go through in order to be able to get in there and get that loose. All right, so now we got all 3 bolts out. Just gonna kind of oil the fuel lines out of the way here. And we should be able to pull this right out, according to theory. I'm gonna get caught up on here. There's something else connected to it, is there? No, there is something else connected to it. Ooh, I didn't notice that before. Okay, there is a wire connected to the back of this thing, so let me figure out how to get that out of there. All right, so there's enough slack on that wire there where you can actually just move the whole thing off to the side of the engine. That's not a problem. Disconnect the 2 clamps that are holding the wire loom in place. That gets that out of the way. Now, unfortunately, I can't see in behind there, so I have no choice. I have to take this fuel rail out, which means disconnecting all of the injectors. So disconnecting the injectors, it's literally pressing in on this little tab right there and then pulling straight out. Just like so. So, like I said, pressing in on this tab here and then pulling the injector connection out. Now, these little things right here, these are the hold downs that hold the fuel injector to the fuel rail itself. You've got 2 options here. You can either disconnect it from the fuel rail and try and lift the fuel rail off of the injectors, or pull the injectors out with the fuel rail. And it is tight, like I said, so that will cause other issues, so keep that in mind. It's up to you which way you want to do it. You are going to spill some fuel, so don't freak out. Paper towel, wipe it right up. Just don't put it near anything flammable. And there's 2 studs that hold the fuel rail in place. You can see the one right there. That is a 10mm. And then you'll need a fuel line disconnect tool for these 2 here. These little boots just slide out of the way. And then the tool slides inside there, and you literally pull the fuel line straight back off of it. And that takes care of that. So, let me get to working on that. So, remember how I was talking about the fuel line disconnect tool? Well, this is one version thereof. There's a couple different versions of it. This one just worked for me the other day. I got it from Harbor Freight. It really wasn't that much, so not a big deal. So it's literally get it in around, push straight back. You'll actually feel the whole thing move, and then it's just a matter of pulling the fuel line back. Now, if you look inside there, you can see those little clips. That's what it's pushing in. So let's get these out of the way. Of course, Job just called me and told me I have to go in 4 early tonight, which means I gotta go to work at 1 a.m. Not happy about that. But, as usual, it is what it is. Good thing I've only got a few months left and then I can retire. What's going on here? There we go. Oh, shit. That was close. Okay. So I see what the issue was there. Be forewarned. Release the pressure on your fuel system before you do that. You just experienced firsthand what it is when you don't release the pressure. And so did I, for that matter. So yeah, next time, release the pressure on your fuel line before you do that. And to do that, it is literally little evap tab there, and then there's actually one on the other side. Where is it? Right there. That little cap. Pull that cap off and just press down on the Schrader valve and release the pressure. So yeah, there you go, guys. My fuck up is your salvation. So now another tool that I have found absolutely invaluable. Again, Harbor Freight. Just a little itty bitty pry bar. If you notice, this one here, it's pushed all the way in, and it's not coming loose. So very gently try and push up on it without breaking it, because if you break it, you're replacing the entire fucking injector and the housing connection. And you don't want to do that, trust me. So showing you that connector again, it goes onto the fuel injector. It's literally just pressing in on that little metal clip right there, which pushes these things out, and that's how you get it off the injector. Let's see from this one here. Sorry about that, don't mean to be throwing you guys around like that. See from that one there. So the fuel line, like I said, 10mm, so let me get those 2 out. In addition, guys, remember these studs are aluminum into, or steel bolts into aluminum. So those studs are going to be corroded in there good, which means they're permanently attached. So if that nut does not come off easy, try spraying it down with, PB Blast or WD-40, something like that, to try and help get it loose before you start cranking on it. Otherwise, you're going to break that stud, and you're either going to have to replace your head, which, trust me, unless you were planning on doing it, you don't want to do. Or you're going to have to come up with a bracket like I did on the other side from the previous owner. All right, so I got the nuts off the fuel rail on the driver's side. In the back, on the fuel pressure regulator, there is a vacuum hose, and there should not be fuel in there, and this one just popped fuel, so that tells me right there that the fuel pressure regulator is bad. So get that off of there, and let's get around to the other side. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, this side's a little bit more tricky, because you're gonna have to disconnect your alternator. Gives you just a little bit more room to work with, especially when it comes to getting the whole thing out of there. You've got this big wire loom here. You've got your transmission dipsticks in the way. You've got a vacuum advance back here that needs to get out of the way. And that is actually a Torx bit. 2 bolts, one here and then one on the bottom on the opposite side, which is a little tricky to get in and out of. So let me get to the alternator. Alternator, you've got 3 bolts. You've got one here, one right here, one down there, right where my finger's pointing. It's not focusing. So what you're going to have to do is actually get the tensioner, a 3/4 inch ratchet. Works best on that one because it's got a longer handle, and you'll have to push tensioner down, pull the belt out of the way, and then get the alternator disconnected and pulled out of the way. Keeping in mind, you've got 2 connections on your alternator. You've got this one right here, and then you got your power line on the back. If your positive cable is still connected to your battery, be careful with that one back there, because if you tap metal with it, it's gonna arc. All right, so this connection right here on the alternator, it's literally just a little pop clip. You get your finger in there to get it out. The one on the back side is, I believe, 10 millimeter. All right, so I lied. The one on the back side of the alternator, the power terminal, is a 12 millimeter. That's a 10. That's a 10. And the one down below, I believe, is a 13, but we'll get to that in a second. All right, just experienced something I didn't on the first go around. Had to put a 12 millimeter wrench on the inner nut in order to hold that one in place so I could get the outer nut off. Just a suggestion, put the nut back on the post, that way you don't lose the nut, and make sure that you move that one out of the way where it's not going to be touching any metal. All right, so time to get the tensioner out of the way so we can get to that last bolt down there. So, like I said, 3/4 inch ratchet with a number 15 socket. All I'm doing is pulling back. You can see the belt go loose, and then it's just a matter of pulling it off of the pulleys. Sorry, but I gotta do this two-handed. There we go. And keep in mind too, don't let this thing go because you'll wind up crushing that electrical connection in the back. So let me put you all down for a second while you do this. So if you find yourself in a point where, because of the tension on this thing, you're getting stuck up against here, if you look, and let me pull it back down again so you can see it. On the top part of the tensioner there, you see that little slot? If you put that pry bar inside there and put it up against that bolt, the head of that bolt, it'll hold it in place so you can actually leave your ratchet out of the way and readjust in order to get it off without breaking anything. And that bottom one is a 13. Clearance is a little tight, but it works. If you have an electric ratchet, it would definitely help, which I have one. It's just across the street in my neighbor's garage where I'm working on my 79 Trans Am. And I'm just being lazy and didn't feel like walking over there to get it, so hence doing what I'm doing here. Yay! Just not as pleasurable. Alright, so the alternator's out. Definitely gets things out of the way. Now, as you can see, that top one is threaded in the back. So is that bottom one. So I'm going to take those bolts, put those back in there, that way I don't lose them. So now, like I was saying earlier, I made this little bracket myself. Literally just took a shelf bracket that I had in my shed for probably the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years. Twisted it, sanded it down, filed it, put the bolt back inside the top of the EGR cover so I don't lose it. Don't want to get anything in there as well. And now we can start working on the passenger side, pulling everything out of here. So first we've got the injector connection. There's one. Like I said, guys, these tolerances are tight on this side with everything the way it is. It's two. These clips here, you can get them on Amazon. The gaskets, you can kind of see the blue one down there in the bottom of the injector. That is one of the original ones. You can get them from like AutoZone and Napa and Advanced Auto Parts, stuff like that, if your store has them. If not, you can get replacements on Amazon, but it may take a little while for it to get to you. It's not necessarily going to be there right away. So, I don't know what the hell that is. So, let's get that out of the way. Let's get this disconnected. Take care of that. See if we can get it to focus here. Maybe not. Alright, so disconnecting the fuel injectors. These little clips right here, you can get them on Amazon. I don't know if that last part recorded or not, so I'm just going to go through this again. This one came off of Amazon. The others were pre-existing, so I use those. You can see the blue gasket down there in the bottom. It's a little O-ring. Again, you can get them from Amazon. You can get them from AutoZone or Advanced Auto or Napa, O'Reilly, whatever. So you've got connection back here. Make sure you get that one out. And then there's the two T25 little bolts that are here, one on the opposite side. The one on the back side is really tough to get to, I'm not going to lie. So let's get back to it. Like I said, this little bolt down here is already missing, so that's not a problem for us. But there's still one more in the back there. We got to get that one out. And once we pull that one, we've got to pull all these little clips that are holding the injectors to the fuel rail. The question is, do I try and pull it all out at one time? Or, you know what? I think we're going to try that this time. I think I'm going to leave them connected to the fuel rail and just pull everything at one time. Matter of fact, I'm kind of thinking I should probably clean the injectors while I'm at it, just to make sure I don't have one that's stuck open. Alright, bear with me. Alright, remember how I said there was that little T25? There it is. That's the one from the back side of that sensor. I think it's got something to do with the evap control or vacuum advance. Anyway, yeah, so that's that one there, T25. So, yeah. All right, so now everything's off. We got everything moved from the back. You can see that there. Go ahead and take a snapshot of it if you need to. Pretty much got everything moved out of the way that we can do. So now it's literally a matter of pulling up the fuel rail. So again, pop. There it goes. That was one side. And all I did was use that little pry bar underneath where the fuel rail bolts down. There we go. All right, we're out. So now, finagling this thing out of here, it's a real pain in the ass. As you can see, it goes down around the back side of the engine, or the head, or the intake manifold. So you're literally just going to have to sit there and play with it until you're able to get the whole thing out of there. There's no perfect way to do it. It's just a matter of whatever's working for you at that time. So let me go ahead and get this thing out of here. because I literally have no place to put my phone so you guys can watch me do this without this thing falling over, I don't think. No, there's never really no perfect spot for it, because the minute I start moving around, it's gonna probably bounce. Well, that's about the best I can do for you. So, I got all the injectors out, or in place. Now, the one problem I ran into an issue last time was on the driver's side, left side. There's that one wire harness. It does have a tendency to get caught up on that. You literally have to pick it up and just finagle it up and over the manifold. It's not easy. If it was, it wouldn't be working on a car. You might have to remove the first two injectors. I'm hoping not, but it's moving. But I'm caught up on it. Here we go. There we go. Okay. All right, we got it out. Oh, just poured gas all over my arm. And there's your fuel rail. Whee! Alright, so as you can see, all the injectors are in place. You can see one of the O-rings are replaced right there. And then your fuel pressure regulator is this little bugger right here. So let me, you're gonna need a pair of snap ring pliers, and I need to towel off my arm because it's starting to burn. All right, so we got a new fuel pressure regulator. I ordered this one off Amazon. Go ahead and take a screenshot of that if you like. That way you can know what part you're gonna be ordering. I'd love to be able to link it from Amazon on the video, but I have no clue how to do that because, yeah, I don't do computer stuff anymore. Haven't in a long time. Those are those clips that I ordered, again, off Amazon. These are actual GM clips. Metal fuel injector retaining clips is what they're called. Those are the part numbers for those. There's a couple different versions of them. This one worked, so it's not a problem. And if you're wondering what O-rings, again, ES70599 Felpros, and they're just little rubber O-rings. Make sure you coat them in oil before you put them on, though. Whatever oil your car uses, that way everything will slide in and seal correctly. So, now, you can see there's a snap ring inside here for the old one, so we got to get that snap ring out. So, snap ring pliers, yippee yippee ki-yay. Literally get them in the holes and squeeze. And then, all right, let me see if I can set this up. And no, this is not brought to you by Diet Mountain Dew, but I have to work tonight, so that's all I can drink. And of course, now it's empty. All right, so I'm saying get the snap ring pliers in there. If you need to, because the snap ring has shifted a little bit, just put one end in and then try and slide it out of the way, and then this whole thing pops right out. Now there should be a blue O-ring there, and then another one on the inside, so we'll get that out. There's the blue O-ring. And then there is a screen in here as well. Got to get the screen out. That's where picks come in handy. Screen's out. So let's take a quick look at this one. Yeah, it kind of looks like this one's pretty jacked up. There's another O-ring in here as well. But I want to look at this new one first and figure out if... Nope, there's another O-ring in there. Okay, good. So we got to get that last O-ring out of there as well. Tiny little thing. There we go. Tiny little O-ring. Now, for kicks and giggles, choke and carb cleaner. And of course, one of my wife's kitchen towels. Shh, don't tell her. That looks somewhat decent. Be careful when you're picking this thing up and putting it down too. Don't crush your injectors. I really hope this solves my problems. So the problem I was having was the car was smelling like gas, something fierce. And when I took the when I went to check the mass airflow sensor and all that, I took the front of the throttle body off and gas just poured out of the head. Not the head, the manifold. So getting way too much fuel down inside that thing. The oil smells like gas. Now I got to change the oil in it. It was just putting way too much in is literally what it came down to. So, all right, this one should just seat. I'm thinking we're going to put a little bit of oil around those O-rings. Just a little bit of oil on the finger. Because I definitely want this thing to seal the way it's supposed to. You can see there is still that little filter in there. This thing should literally push right in place. There we go. And then it gives you two options: snap ring or that clip. I think I'm actually going to try and use both since I'm going through all this. Alright, the snap ring is in. Now, something else for you to keep in mind. When you go to reassemble this thing, one of the things you need to keep in mind is the orientation of this outlet here for the vacuum hose. So, when the fuel rail is sitting on the car, it sits like this. So that little vacuum hose comes over from the passenger side to the driver's side, and then it's got to fit down on top of that. So right now, this thing's actually in a pretty good position of where it's at. So if you're looking down the pipe, it's just kind of, I guess, around the 10, somewhere between 10 and 11 o'clock position. So it's actually in a pretty decent, pretty good position right there. So we'll go ahead and get this clip on here. I'm not really sure it does much, but no, it's not really doing anything. So I'm not quite sure why they would give it to you. There's really nothing for it to do. That's interesting. I mean, it's not holding anything. Strange. All right, well, I guess we're gonna leave it off and just go with the snap ring. Maybe if I can get it off. closed off. Okay, so let's see. Double check, snap ring's in. And because I have the fuel rail off, we're going to re-oil all of the O-rings again. You know what? Since I have the extras, oh, now I remember what I wanted to do. I wanted to test these injectors. All right, so you can see here the difference between the originals and the replacement. Only difference is these two little nibs right there, and maybe the wings are a little bit newer because these aren't as stretched out. But there it is. All right, so let's get to injector testing. All right, so I just attempted to clean the fuel injectors using carb cleaner, and how I did that was alligator clips, 2 lines, one to the positive, one to the negative of the injector, while trying to pump a little homemade setup that I did here. A little piece of fuel hose, 11/30 seconds, fit over the top of the injector fine. Used a wire nut and then hot glued the hose little thing into the nut, and then just push down on the plunger for the carb spray while randomly activating the positive side of the injector. I mean, they sprayed. I don't think it was ideal, but that's all the spray that I used. I don't really see anything floating in it, so I'm guessing, I mean, it's a little cloudy, but I mean, the car was sitting for a year, so. Anyway, all right, now we gotta get the fuel rail put back in. So I'm just gonna reverse the entire order, put everything back together, and then I'll get back to you. All right, so moment of truth. Everything's put back together, fuel lines are all connected, everything's hooked back up correctly that way. At least I hope so. Guess we'll find out in a minute. So let's see if she'll start. Oh. And the warning lights are gone. That muffler's getting replaced. I can't stay in that thing. But the loss of idle is gone. I'm almost half tempted to take this thing off the ramp, run it out real quick, but I don't have time now because I gotta leave for work at like 11:30 tonight. So, but I feel so much better now. Oh, well, there you go, guys. Fuel pressure regulator. Symptoms I was having was every time it came down to idle, it would stall out. If you jumped on it, you got nothing out of it. Now it's all there. So we're good to go. Anyway, so if you have any questions, hit me up, let me know.